Hi, in this video we'll know how to protect from SQL injections and XSS attack. Actually, there are many methods of protection from these attacks, and we'll have a look at one of the most effective and easy to understand methods: input validation. Actually, what is input validation? Input validation, also known as data validation, is the proper testing of any input supplied by a user or application. Input validation prevents improperly formed data from entering an information system. Because it's difficult to detect a malicious user who is trying to attack software, applications should check and validate all inputs entered into a system. To make it simpler, let's use a metaphor. If you secure all windows and doors into a house, a thief won't be able to penetrate your house and steal your assets. This is exactly the principle the input validation is based. You just secure all inputs in your web application, and a malicious hacker can get inside. There are two types of input validation: blacklisting or whitelisting. Which of them is better to use? Let's look at every of it closer. Blacklisting means listing out what should be blocked, potentially dangerous strings and symbols. And from the first look, it looks very attractive methods, so many people choose it by default, because it looks very convenient. Actually, all we need to do is just take all symbols and strings that can be used in SQL injection or XSS to form a list and ban all these strings and symbols in our web applications. So if a malicious hacker tries to use them to penetrate our web application, the web application just blocks them. But there is some pitfalls on this way. First, the lists of SQL injection symbols or XSS symbols are very long, because there are many ways to conduct attack of such kind. And more of that, these lists constantly grow, because every day cybercriminals invent some new methods of attacks, and any list you have created won't include all possible ways of attack. But that's not all. Let's consider an example. Here is the apostrophe. It's actually a classic symbol to test a website for SQL injection vulnerability. And let's imagine, and obviously we should ban it in our web application. But let's have a look on the next slide. If we've got a user with name Peter O'Reilly, the user won't be able to register in our web application because he has the apostrophe in his name. So if we use blacklisting, many legitimate users can be registered, won't be able to use our application. Of course, it's not a good situation. But even that is not all. But there is more of that. Actually, any symbols can be encoded in different ways. Here, see the examples of how the apostrophe will look like if it will be encoded in URL, HTML, or XML. And the malicious hackers frequently use to bypass blacklisting. So, besides all strings and symbols, you have to add their encoded analogs to your blacklist. Obviously, it's not very convenient. Let's come to the whitelisting now. Whitelisting means that you list out only what should be allowed, only necessary strings and symbols. And it looks much more better, because in this case, your list will be definitely shorter. It will include only necessary, and it will include all necessary strings and symbols you need for legitimate users be able to use your web application. So, the choice is obvious now. You should avoid blacklisting and choose whitelisting methods of input validation. If you want to know more details about the input validation, I would recommend you to go to OWASP.org website, and you'll find many details about this process and nuances of its implementation here. And if you implement the input validation policy in correct way, your web application will be secured from 90% of such dangerous attacks as XSS and SQL injections. Why only 90%? Because any kind of protection is not a 100% guarantee. And to raise your level of security, you need to use so-called defense in depth. What is it? We'll talk about that in the next videos. But before that, we need to know how to test your SSL connection. See you in the next video.